Right, so yes, we probably remember this wallaby grass spot from last time, and it was brownish with a little bit of a bluey tinge to the leaves. The windmill grass, sorry, the windmill grass. Thanks, Andrew. But this is a great colonising species, and so the moment it gets a sniff of a reasonable amount of rain, it just goes berserk. And the first thing that it does is to put on new leaf, and when you have a look in a little while, you'll see that there are seed heads up already. I mean, we've just had the rain, for goodness sake. It's only been a few days ago that it stopped raining. So 2 events, 36 mils on this site, same over at David Bradley's when we get there, and probably a little bit more perhaps in Mount Torrens. So the next thing that'll happen, provided the moisture stays, or if we get another rainfall event, the seeds that are in the ground, like thousands of them, will germinate. And so there'll be a carpet of green, not the tallish, fast-growing lush of the brome and the oats, but a dull green and a small leaf as the plant puts down its decent taproot, because this particular colonising grass needs to put down a taproot very fast, and then it takes a while for it to build its laterals. So in fact the little tussock can just sort of flop around in the wind. It's quite extraordinary, and so sensitive to traffic, and so there are some little management issues that are going to go with some of the grasses, and as I pointed out in that presentation, the main text of that presentation, the management stuff is still going to be a work in progress with all of you who put up your hand to come in at some level. Okay, so let's have a look at what's here. Pick a seed head, see all the black things, run your finger down it, have a look at all the seed. What did I say before? Something like 92 seeds per finger. There's a heap of seed. That's what a colonising grass has to do, set gazillions of potential seeds for germination. And hence, because of its evolution, it knows that it may have only just got a small window, and so it's capitalised on that window, and we'll see it on the roadsides as well. Probably we'll see it at Mount Torrens, I think. Similar sort of thing with another grass. So have a look, and look at the purple, thin, tight purple cluster of the new head coming up, and then Miriam and I will go across to the
it's
other
from
side
your
and
video that I watched during the week, and you were talking about the granulated herbicide. You know how you spread out the granules?
Yes.
If you had horses, you wouldn't be able to do that, would you? Because would they eat it? You know how you said it lasts for 10 weeks? Okay.
So it's actually, as soon as it gets moisture on it, it breaks down.
Okay.
So it's actually, it leaches the necessary chemical into that top inch or thereabouts of the surface, which is why you lay it on the top, so that it can just penetrate. If you incorporate it, it'll still work, but it'll be deeper in the soil, and so something's going to germinate above it.
Yeah.
So the idea
And what
is
about
that
the birds?
Gets moisture and then gradually leaches a little bit of chemical just into that top zone layer, and it sits there. So. Yeah.
And what about the birds? Because granules to me would be the best way of doing it, like if you had to use a herbicide. So I just wanted to ask those questions, because for me, granules to me would be the best way of doing it, like if you had to use a herbicide. So I just wanted to ask those questions.
And some of the it's a good question. And some of the commercial growers on a very large scale use particular pre-emergent herbicides to make sure that their weed load is manageable.
So just for everyone else, explain that's the pre-emergent weed. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. So you know, a knockdown herbicide is something that hits leaf and in most cases strips the chlorophyll out of the leaf, so it just can't work, and so the plant dies. It also goes into the system. Many of the native grasses are resistant to through knockdown herbicide. And I'll show you an example when we get on top of the hill with minibus up. A pre-emergent herbicide, the cereal industry used it. It probably came out of there originally, where you sow a crop of wheat, barley or whatever, and you sow it with a granular herbicide. And that granular herbicide kills every germinating weed, but not the oats or the barley or the wheat. And we won't go into the science of that, but that's the thing. So there are some of those herbicides, and some of them are not toxic, others are, that give us another management tool. And once you've decided what part of the native grass bit you want to get involved with, then the information that you need will be
the macrolina that we looked at. Is that? Can we see that? Are we seeing that today? Because I'm just curious to know what it looks like, because I'm growing some at home.
Yes.
Yeah. The macrolina that we looked at.
Yes.
Can we see that?
Yes, of course you can. It's
I'm curious to know what it looks
do
like.
go
I'm
for
growing some at home.
Yes. It
How
won't be
quickly
looking as
does
good
this
as you'll see
seed
at
mature? Like, is
Birdwood
that
in a
already
little
mature?
while. But do go for a walk. Pam.
How quickly does this seed mature? Like, is that already mature?
Any time that you can grab, well, lots of that's been lost, but any time that you can grab it and just run your finger gently down and all the seeds come off, it's ripe.
Bob, you made a comment a minute ago that this was susceptible to, I guess, cars and things driving over it. Does that apply to horses' hooves as well? So what you're saying is that this particular windmill grass probably only ever takes a very light, if you're going to use it for horses, it's probably not the best, because it's not going to take, probably only ever takes a very light, if you're going to use it for horses, it's probably not the best.
Well, the only comparison I can give it in answer to that is Morris Collins' sheep grazing property just over the back here. Morris is a very big sheep grazer in the area, and he has about a 3 or 4 hectare pasture over there that until recently he's irrigated, and it's dominant windmill grass. So that's all of his lambs have gone on it for many, many seasons. We did a story in the Native Grass Resources Group newsletter on it. And so because he's got irrigation licence, he's able to irrigate it, so that pushed it, and so he'll end up with wall-to-wall chloris, and so it then kind of protects itself because it's almost like a mat. And in the horse pastures cases, I'd be thinking that we'd be actually looking at a mixed pasture that's got a fair amount of diversity in it if we can go down that path. We may start off trying to breed some solitary species, but except in the case of kangaroo grass, it's most likely that you will have 4, 5, 6.
I'd just like to add that an important part of having a variety of species is if you have, I was just talking before to somebody at the last site, if you've just got the species that have got really good leaf mass, great for grazing for the horses, you've got all the bits in between, and all the bits in between is where the weeds are going to grow. If you've got the colonising species in those bits, they're a lot shorter in stature, they sit so low, yet the species that are great for fodder are the ones that, they're the ones you really want. But if you don't have these in there as well, all those gaps are just going to go to weeds. So these are really important. Although it might not be a lot for the horse to eat, at the same time it's green in summer, and also it's filling those gaps so that the weeds can't grow. So the Ritidosperma geniculatum, that was one of the ones on that last site, that's not great fodder, but it fills gaps, and that's a C3 or a winter grass, a cool season grass that fills gaps. This is a summer grass that fills gaps. So they might not be the best for fodder, yet we go over to the kangaroo grass, that's better for fodder. Yet filling gaps with the kangaroo grass, that's where you need this to come in between. So it's a full suite. You can't just go down the path of one particular group of species. You've got to have the fillers. So it's a full suite. You can't just go down the path of one particular group of species. You've got to have the fillers.
Thanks. Okay, so this is a reminder and some words to our newcomers. This is one of the original plots of kangaroo grass on this property. It went in 2000, the year 2000, and was put in with a group of people very much like the group that came here in August, a group of conservation volunteers. The kangaroo grass was harvested from over the road, and I just have to get something. In there someone's got it. There's a gap there, and was cast. So it's a matter of that was done to it. And then straight after it was harvested, across the road here and out. And then that one bisexual floret in each of those spikelets, that one bisexual floret gets a chance to get out, drop to the ground and drill in. So that's how this was set up. It's been burned a couple of times, but the road is very close. And so it has to be the perfect day when the wind is coming from the south-southeast to blow the wind that way, so I don't have a problem with traffic. You can see some burn in some of the tussocks over here, the result of a burn. But this has started to get neglected, which is why on the 9th, with some extra tube stock seed, we were able to do this. And that's all through here. So all of those and you see what the young plant's done? It's only been in the ground 6 months, but it's wanted to put up seed heads as quickly as it can. And so that's good. Well, there's more infill through there. And as Andrew will tell you, groups like conservation volunteers are very important to the system. The one thing that I've neglected to do in starting this is something that I learned from Bruce Pascoe, who is an Aboriginal man and has written a book called Dark Emu, Black Seeds. And he said that it's very important that welcome to country is said. So I'll explain. Because he said, it's getting a bit trite. People get up, they say, welcome to country, and everybody goes, oh, why are they doing that? He said, oh, no, you have to go a lot deeper than that. So for at least 2,000 years, before the British and Germans ventured into what we call the Mount Lofty Ranges, groups of semi-nomadic families call this region from Strath to Gawler their country, their tribal lands. They were the Peremank. In the tribal custom, pretty much around the pre-colonial world, welcome protocols took place when you wanted to enter another tribe's land or another family's land. This was more about respecting creation beings and local totem holders than anything else. I'm not Peremank, and there are only a small number of those with that heritage still alive. Smallpox affected many of them before our... Given that, the best that Wanda and I can do with the ecological connections that we cling to here is just to say, you're welcome here, to look, to listen, to ask, to learn, and we'll be delighted when you go. No, that's not true. So you get the picture. So, okay, let's see what's happened here. We'll see how far we can get something like a Cora down and whether it's at 13. So the soil's holding together, there's a reasonable amount of moisture in it. So we could try further with the spade, but at least we know that for that 13 centimetres depth, there is water across this area. So that's pretty good news, especially for these grasses. If it's gone deeper, then it's magical news for them. If we turn around to there, I only cut this on Monday, just took the tops off this area. So have a look. So, there's no way that this litter can stay here. There is absolutely no way that you can leave that amount of material in that interspace. You have to be able to let those, they're everywhere, they're coming up everywhere. Yes, so that if this all C4 grasses, if they don't get good light exposure, material out, then they'll senesce. And this grass very quickly, and you can even go over it, the more sunlight it gets, the better. Pull dead material out. And they've got a life, but you know, well managed, it could be a very long life. It might be 25 years.
So is that better if it's grazed then, this type of grass?
Yes, because the other thing that happens is that when you mow it or slash it like this stays. I've got a pair of snippers over there, but an animal rounds that off and keeps eating it down to rounding it off, and if you leave it in for too long, it actually eats into the crown. And there is some belief in science that process of the saliva on the grass being eaten is an added stimulant to the grass. It may not be that case with native grasses though, because remember, because they're not driven by non-structural carbohydrates, they don't have the need to continue to grow to survive whatever is thrown at them. And so that's why we've got a mindset change to get our heads around that.
Does the burning help control the thatch? Is that what the burning process?
Yeah, the trouble is that when you get material laying on the ground like that, a fire tends to run over the top of it and it's still there. And so I'd be tempted to put a stick rake through here, which is something you bung on the back of a small tractor, quad bike.
Or a harrow?
Or a harrows, yeah, just a diamond pulled harrows. And you might damage a few of the tussocks, but so what? That doesn't matter. The main aim is to get the stuff out. But that'll take a while. That'll take several years. It'll take 3 years for those little fellas over there to develop anything like this.
And you could use all that beautiful dry matter in your garden, couldn't you?
Well, you could if you didn't have a million other things to do.
But you could, couldn't you?
You could, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
So, sorry Bob, so in this situation, if we had a small area like this, what are you going to do with this stuff that you've raked up? Are you going to just leave it on top, or you'll pull it off to the side? Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Again, how do you tell when the seeds are ripe?
It's a harder thing with kangaroo grass than many of the grasses, but it's when one of those seed florets in that little spikelet cluster with a whole lot of little awns going up, whole little curly bits. When one of those is black, and when you pull it out and pinch it, it's hard. It's black and hard, and all the rest will be brown, or there won't be anything there at all, because the rest are male or sterile or something like that. So it's a bit hard now because they've only just started putting on some new seed heads.
So out of each spikelet or spathe, we've got approximately 5, and only one of those is actually going to turn into a viable seed. The rest just isn't going to be viable.
Which is why, as you know, those of you that had a good look at the video, and as Ian says, the kangaroo grass has got a lot of twitchy things about it, and a lot that we still don't understand. So
again, how do you decide, this is ready for me to cut off and throw something?
The same as I saw when Warren and I first came here, when we weren't farming the land. We weren't farming. Other people had animals, and we found out from the people cutting hay here that they actually went out into their crop and they pulled seed heads to see whether it was at the milky or doughy stage, the oats and whatever. And if it was, that's when they cut it for hay. And the kangaroo grass, according to all the old literature, had its highest nutrient value when it was going from leaf growth into stem, culm, seed head growth. Not when it was up, when it was just starting to emerge. That's when you went in and did the hay cut. And then it greened up afterwards, and then you had grazing to do. So, yeah, there's huge potential if you can kind of get it up and get it established and then do the management right. And also I should say that the moment, if you leave it for a long time or do what happens in certain parts of the country, southeastern Australia, and you go in with a harvester and you take off the valuable seed heads for the seed, to sell the seed at whatever you want to charge for it, which is a bit like that, and then go back and do the harvest, you're in fact harvesting what someone spoke to me about momentarily on the bus, about having something that wasn't particularly high in nutrients. In fact, it's possible that that late cut with seed heads removed kangaroo grass is very low in nutrient, because it's going into a semi-dormant stage if it isn't being harvested or regreening and regrowing to get ready to capitalise on a big rainfall event so it can put up more seed heads. And so you're probably cutting something that's pretty close to straw, and you're probably buying something that's pretty close to straw. So I don't know. I mean, I'll be thinking for us that we should do what was proven to keep animals alive in the 1880s, 90s, early 1900s.
So Bob, is this grass suitable for cutting as hay at the right time?
Oh,
yeah,
most certainly,
yeah.
Yes. And in your folder, there's the first, when we issued the first folder, there's a little section in there on horses and pasture, and all that details in that little black and white thing with yellow fluoro lines. Okay, right, what we're going to do now is you're willing to have a look at the regrowth of the kangaroo there, but we're going to go up onto the back of the hill and look at the back of the property anyway. So the bus takes 24, I think, so we'll take 24 up, bus will come back, take the remains up, okay?
Yeah, so you can see the line where we've shifted the old fence, it's temporary fence. One side's got no thatch, it's full of spear grasses and newly germinated stuff, and the other side's got only really old established native grasses and a lot of thatch still. So there's no germination at all. So it's a matter of, I like the idea with the rake, I reckon we need to...
Yeah, just wait for a sec, just to see that it's starting to close. Just a sec, just a little bit of information. The reason why we're going through the electrified gate and fence is that there are southern brown-nosed bandicoots in this 30 acres. I'll show you a couple of shots after. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a sanctuary. We're right, thanks. Yeah, so hence we need to wait for the gate to close. Sorry.
Just before Bob starts, you can have a look on the ground. We've got the evidence of the little mini excavators. The little bandicoots.
You see diggings all over the place. Some areas are really turned over, some are small holes, some are large holes.
They do go down there, yeah.
This is a really good spot because you just get one pile of information by being just here. Where that little sapling tree is over there and those dead logs there is the same area as this. So you can see what's happened. And this has happened to me since 2013 when I started to lose management control for lots of reasons. No excuses, but now I have to try and get control back of this valuable plant. So you see what's happened. No herbicide went over there at all, and the mostly brome grass and oats dominate. That, if I let that go and let it happen again, like again this season, that will be the end. They'll look like, oh, this one's probably still alive, but they'll look like that. They'll just turn to dead material. So the plant will age rapidly, like it's got Alzheimer's or something like that, and it just goes into a non-vegetative state and packs up, and hard to get them back. This area was herbicided a couple of times to try and get control of that stuff. You can see what happens when you open the area up a bit. The plants respond, and so the last was cut something like December the 23rd. So a lot of this growth has been there, sort of slowly increasing, and now it's increased rapidly. You know, we're looking at significant growth. If you look ahead of you, you see a similar thing. I just use different herbicides, that's all. And the stuff on the right is going to be terrific, and I won't have to worry too much about it. But really the whole lot has to be burned. And you know, if that doesn't happen, well, I mean, this isn't going to disappear, but it'll be severely damaged. If you keep it clean down here, probably standing about here is not bad. Once you get up your first crop of kangaroo grass, and this one's, I think this is about three or 4 years old. Once you get it up, this is what it should look like every summer. This is the distressing thing across our landscapes, that there is no reason why there shouldn't be green landscapes under proper management. But no one's yet had the, well, shall I say, the guts to try and tackle that and take it on.
He's not home.
Not home?
No. That's okay, doesn't matter. We'll solve it next.
Yeah, so I haven't bothered to harvest a seed from lots of these plants, but what I did to get it so clean, and I missed a bit here, what I did to get it so clean was in August to go over it with my little quad bike boom spray and did a normal strength application of glyphosate over it. Killed everything out, but never think that your annual grasses died until it's dead. All right? So this is brome, and the rain has got it shooting again, and if I take my eyes off this, it'll have seed heads up really quick and be dropping more seed. And so that's the biggest problem that most native grass land managers have got, and that's to not miss a season, especially if you've got things like oats and brome and whatever, or not miss an emergence of new seed heads. You really have to get them. And so this will be for me. I won't overspray it now because I can do damage to the kangaroo grass now, but I'll just go through with a knapsack and I'll kill off the fog grass, big furry tussock. I can't actually pull the kangaroo grass out easily. You can see extremely long roots, which have got a little sheathing over them, which I've just stripped off, the fungal hyper that I talked about in the meeting. And so there we have a comparison sitting next to each other. And the kangaroo grass tends to be a kind of a V shape and has little hairs on its leaves. And the fog grass has got hairs all over the place and is really soft to touch. But this grass is a survivor in our changed environment, and so it needs to be out of this site here. So if I get all of the weeds that are green now, then I can go back, Bronnie, with a pre-emergent herbicide in here and put it out for the autumn break, because the kangaroo grass won't germinate then. Wallaby grass hates herbicide, yeah, but it handles pre-emergent okay.
There's a lot of space between these. So what happens in winter? Because if you're going to have a C3 in here to fill some of the gaps as a pasture, then you're going to have difficulty spraying.
No, I wouldn't. One of the things. No, I wouldn't. One of the things we've decided to do in the clusters, and Kim will explain that, is to probably go with some monocultures, just for the sake of getting to know the species and also perhaps taking seed from it. In the case of kangaroo grass, we'll be trying to get a handle on how we get the best hay off it. But it may be that you decide in the second year that you take a cut, and then in the of seed heads, and then in the third year you start to go down the path of getting into the harvest and getting the timing right. So these are things that will base some of the data that Andy will give us this afternoon, and some of the ideas that Kim's got to sort of flesh that out a bit. But I mean, this is, if I want to feel good, I can put a chair there and open a bottle of wine and sit down.
Can I just add that the management that Bob's talking about, and the management that Bob's undertaking on this site here, as well as out the front that we've already seen, is purely for the monoculture. It's for the kangaroo grass. It's not for the diverse pasture. It's about the seed production or about the production of possibly Themata hay, but it's not for, like a lot of things when we're talking about the pre-emergent herbicide and things like that. You're not going to distribute that into your pasture that you're actually got a wide variety of species into. There are different management options for that, and that's really not what we're talking about at the moment. This is purely just monoculture. Yeah, I just thought I'd add that in.
And most of these, there are lots of them, lots of patches like this all over this purely just monoculture. And as we go back in the bus, we'll see them on the left of it. Yeah, and most of these, there are lots of them, lots of patches like this all over this upper area. And as we go back in the bus, you'll see them on the left of the track and the right of the track. So there's a lot of kangaroo grass through this zone. We'll have a quick look at some red grass and cotton grass, which you'll also be putting into pastures, I know. And then hop in the bus and just do a little drive through where the big crops are to show you what a mass of C3 grass across a landscape can look like. Okay, Kim and I knew this would be a pretty full morning, but this is terrific response to, I should wait till Miriam's cleared up. This is a terrific response to rain. This is mostly red grass, which is the lower grass, and it looked, where's a rotten bit? It looked pretty much like this. It's been like this for months because it hated no water in spring, and so it shut down. It hardly set any seed. It aborted seed that it did set up. And now after this amount of rain, the 36 mils, you can see the response. I mean, it's dramatic. From something that looks red and burgundy and brown and dead, when you open it up, of course, there's lots of green leaf in there. But it's been the slowest to respond, and the stuff that has responded that you're looking at, the bigger tussocks, are all Digitaria. There's two species, Digitaria brownii and Divartissima, I think, is the other one. So cotton grass. And there's another grass in here as well, which likes a lot more water, so it's looking dead, but that's another Setaria in the pigeon grass family. So there are 3 or 4 species of grass in here. There's even a little Aristida around somewhere. Here, I think. So, this is what's on the roadside at Mount Torrens, the red grass, and this is what's starting to do very well in many parts of the hills, and certainly should be in a pasture. What we'll do now is a shootout around the gate, around the bunker, and I'll just point out a couple of other species to you. It's important for you to look at the scale of things, because we are looking at your landscape scale, however big or small your property is, and so this is what happens when you set up a seed production area. So you're looking at, between these 2 mown rows, you're looking at Shannon microlina, produced by Native Seeds. You can see the evenness of height across it. That's how it was selected by New England University. A 10-year selection program. Next to it is the local Ostradentania geniculata, Britidosperma geniculatum, which Ian Chivers sells as Oxley, and the stuff he sells as Oxley is my seed. So he built his stuff out of this seed. As you can see, I mean, I mowed this last week just so that you could see, you know, dimension, 300 square metres, 600 square metres. The most interesting thing, though, is what I hope would take you on a big learning curve, but it does mean perhaps putting your animal somewhere else, destocking, whatever. I don't know yet. We'll take that through Kim. However, if you turn around, you're looking at the same wallaby grass. I didn't put it there. So these went in 2006. It's now 2016, and that whole area, every tussock you can see there, is that grass. This was all weed, all foggrass, all oats, all brome. All I did was a variety of poisoning and mowing off and on when it came into my head, and the seed has travelled. What you walked up through the gate through was the same thing. The microlina, the weeping rice grass, and the wallaby grass moving downhill, down that way. Almost as big a patch as this, 300 square metres. If we had the time, you would see exactly the same on the other side. A 600 square metre patch has reproduced itself by managing the land around it. That's one of the ways that I think we can perhaps crack this establishment nut.
We haven't got the time, but for those people that have the Native Seeds,
provided you're not overstocked,
Gallup mix in the packet.
So anyway, but
there's a species that you can see that's really tall over there, just between the green trees back there. That is one of the species that's in the mix, and that's well, it used to be called Elamus or Anthosacne, and that one's one that's got a lot more fodder on it. It's actually quite a good species for eating. Not for you and I, but Elamus, that's right. The old Elamus.
Anthosacne or something.
Anthosacne scabra.
Elamus, yeah. Anthosacne or something. Just call it common wheatgrass.